Hey, listeners, before we get into today's episode, I just want to thank our sponsors, and we got two sponsors today. The first of which is Kind Bar. Kind is deeply committed to crafting food with real, recognizable ingredients, a disruptive notion that sparked the creation of a new, healthy snacking category. Kind is unapologetic in their efforts to challenge the status quo, to shift the food industry, and empower the community and our listeners to make better, informed choices about health. Kindness can be a transformative force for good, and that is why we are teaming up with Kind to bring our listeners 10% or 15% off for military, teachers, students, first responders, doctors, and nurses. Go to podgo.co/kind. That's podgo.co/kind. Kind Bar, creating a kinder and healthier world, one act, one snack at a time. Our second sponsor for today is returning sponsor Pretentious Pickle. The Pretentious Pickle Company is located here in Plymouth, Massachusetts at 190 Water Street, and they have a wide variety of pickled items, everything from pickled cucumbers to mushrooms, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, carrots, beets, anything that you can pickle, they pickle. And it's a delicious snack, and if you're in a pickle for what to get your significant other for Valentine's Day, just go to Pretentious Pickle and they can sort that out for you. You can, again, find them at 190 Water Street here in Plymouth, or find them on the web at pretentiouspickle.com. And now let's get into our show. Welcome back, Inebri-arts. This is Andy, the Inebri-art podcast, and it's been a long time since we've had a YouTube creator on, and it's been something I've been kind of trying to get someone back on. And recently, we have been running the non-essential comedy nights, and that is how I met today's guest, Hugz. Welcome to the show.
Hey, glad to be here.
So, YouTubers. That's not the same as it used to be. Things have really changed. Like, I think the first wave of YouTubers were kind of like, Good Mythical Morning and Epic Meal Time and those guys. And I've heard a lot of people kind of poo-poo YouTube, saying how much it's changed and how they're kind of, I don't know, money hungry is the word, but you can't make money on it like you used to. How do you feel? When did you get started? Is it worth the effort?
Well, I'll answer the last question first. Yes, it is always worth the effort. I believe that in most things in life. Like, if you want to do something, it's worth the effort to do it. Regardless of what you consider success is, if it's something you want to achieve, then it's always worth it to do it. I started on YouTube in, I have no idea, to be honest, mid-2000s. Like, I watched Good Morning Chia Lincoln, which was what they called themselves before Good Mythical Morning. I'm a huge fan. Epic Mealtime, Harley follows me on Twitter. Huge fan of them.
Oh, nice.
Through a wrestling connection is how I got connected with Harley. And he was the first dude that ever co-signed my YouTube name. And I was like, all right, this is perfect. I got this. Like, I'm going to, this has to be the thing. But I became a YouTuber. I never called myself that until I was paying my bills with it. I became a YouTuber in 2016 was the first year I started being able to pay rent. I had to move, and I was going to have to quit my job anyway. So I told my wife I'd always kind of wanted to make a run at the YouTube thing. I was like, hey, give me a few months. Let's see what I can make out of this. If I'm not making any money with it, then I'll find a new job down here. She was okay with that. We weren't hurting or anything. And within 3 months, I cut my first profit of like $100. And my first 6 months of starting it, I had already paid rent.
Wow.
That was the first time I'd paid my rent, was the end of that year. I started it in July. I paid rent in December. So that was pretty cool. And then in 13 months, we went from 0 subscribers to 100,000 subscribers.
Holy crap.
So that was super cool. And we were actually like blowing up like crazy. We had jumped to 150 in the next few months. And then I had a lot of like life personal events that have made that subside since then. But definitely, as far as income base from YouTube, I consider myself a Patreoner now.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's basically the route you have to go, because YouTube ad rev went from I was easily paying all of my bills, all my rent, to the PewDiePie situation. If people remember what that is, or he muttered a racial slur
Yep.
in a stream, and that like killed ad rev super hard. And
Was that really the like keystone that like sent the ad revenues? Because I remember hearing that there was like they changed policies and stuff, but
it was the catalyst.
Yeah.
Like the problems existed that had nothing to do with him. It was just easy to point at him and say this was the reason. But that was kind of like, you know, the powder keg that kicked it all off. But there were videos out there of very questionable topics, like neo-Nazi content that was getting monetized by like Johnson and Johnson. So it's like, no more tears. And then it's like, hey, Nazi propaganda. So of course it's something that they needed to crack down on. I fully understand that. I'm glad that options like Patreon exist, because that honestly grew my business more than anything. I'm sorry if my cat's going ham. I have numerous cats, so that is a constant issue while I'm recording. So the whole thing was with Patreon, it actually grew my business. I was very worried with missing an ad rev that I was going to have a problem continuing to do this as a career, and Patreon gave me essentially a second life. I still do make ad rev. I actually have a second channel as well with my wife. There's about 30,000 subscribers, and that actually makes more ad revenue for me monthly than the channel with 100 and whatever we're at now, 60 something thousand, which is why we focus more on the smaller channel. But it definitely changed, but you can still be a YouTuber. It's just subsidized by Patreon.
No, but I feel like Patreon is really, I mean, hell, I signed up for a Patreon account. I haven't really done anything with it, but mostly because I feel like you have to have Patreon content.
Yeah.
You know, and I haven't really committed to or thought about what that is going to be. But it seems like everyone's doing the Patreon thing, and it's a way for people to really, you know, I'd rather spend, you know, $5 a month supporting someone that I actually like their content, opposed to $140 on cable and not watch any of it.
It's also brand loyalty is kind of what I think of it, because I patron other people as well. It's not just, you know, I benefit. I also am a patron to multiple people, and you feel a part of what they're doing. When you're just watching as a casual viewer, it's like you have that, you almost build a bond, which is really cool, because I have people that I've met through meetups and stuff that they come up and it's like they know everything about me and I know nothing about them. It's the weirdest situation ever in life. I'm a very like introverted person outside of YouTube. Like you would never guess it based on my content. I'm a very introverted person, and having people come up to me like literally shaking, and they can tell me like the name of my childhood dog, like because I just said it, like I just made mention of it in like a vlog 3 years ago, and somebody is like, oh yeah, that was whatever, and I'm like, cool, like all right. You know, but yeah, it makes people feel like they're a part of what you're doing for $5 a month. You know, it's not like a huge amount, but it definitely makes it feel like, hey, we're in this together.
Yeah, and it's kind of like building that tribe. I remember I used to have a comic book shop when I was married, and shortly after I got divorced, it was partially the divorce, but partially other life events that made me have to close up shop. And I remember I told one of my customers, like, oh yeah, man, you know, closing up shop, whatever, and like literally got teary-eyed and almost started crying. And I'm like, dude, it's cool, I'll be fine. He's like, no, this is just like, this is my place. And like you kind of find those like-minded people, and it really draws together
for sure.
So I think people tend to think about like YouTubers as like basement dwellers or slackers or, you know, those kind of things. But and I really like the way that you refer to it as your business, and you got multiple channels. And
yes,
I know
I am a business major, and I dropped out of college. I actually just went back to college.
Yeah,
but I'm a business and psychology major, so that is what I do.
Yeah. So, and just from doing the podcast, like I know how much work it is. Like what does your average week look like? Like how much time do you spend working on content?
So that changes and evolves almost weekly. It used to be when we were first growing, and this goes into, and I have no problem discussing it if you want to get into it, but I used to post, multiple pieces of content per day. I actually had a structure, and the whole idea was about building inventory. I look at a YouTube channel as, my warehouse, and the more videos I have, the more inventory I have for people to find. So that's why I would try to get out as much content as I could. I tried to see what other people in the space were doing. I did a lot of reaction videos. I did a lot of vlog videos. I did like mukbangs where like you just go to like restaurants and eat stuff, or like we did snacks from around the world. But I'd see what are other people doing? What are they doing that was successful? I did like a whole like analysis on, what I could see that was working for them, times of day they posted, and I tried to mimic that as much as possible. Now I focus a lot more on TikTok actually than I even do YouTube. And now that you can make money from TikTok, that may be my next pivot.
Oh, you can? They have ad revenue type thing?
They don't have ad revenue. They have a $2 billion creator fund that they set up, and it's a views-based model similar to YouTube. From what I can figure out, it's about 1/10 to 1/20th of what I make on ad rev on YouTube. But the views are skewed. You get way higher views on TikTok than what would be the equal measure on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Whereas like on TikTok, I think my hashtag right now is 65 million views or something. And that would probably only equate to like 20 million views or less on YouTube. So, I mean, it's definitely not the same, but it's decent. I think for the first 8 days that I was in the program, I made $100. I won't actually see that until next month, I think, because I think they're doing the Twitch model where it's like 30 days after the end of the month that you earn it.
Yeah.
That's where you can do it. But yeah, TikTok definitely is decent monetization for what it is. And also I heard that they're going to be integrating, if we don't get banned, we'll be integrating a merch model into the app to where you can, because this is actually my merch from TikTok.
Yeah.
You can sell your merch, like how YouTube did it. YouTube integrated right into the page. They're supposedly going to be doing that with TikTok as well.
Oh, that's cool. And that's, I think that's one of the things, I talk to kids, even my son is like, oh, I don't know, maybe I want to stream video games on Twitch, and because he's like college age, and I'm very much the mind of, well, you're 18, now is the time to do it, and you have little to no responsibility. If you want to give it a go.
Exactly.
Do you feel it's one of those type of things? I'm going to relate this back to my comic book shop. I had my comic book shop. I did a lot of eBay. I had a website. I did comic book conventions. I did local flea markets. I had like my hand in like 5 or 6 different pots. Do you feel that you have to do like TikTok and YouTube and Patreon and merch and Twitch to a little bit here and there? So like if one dies, there's the others to kind of.
So I follow Gary Vee a lot. I don't know if you
definitely have heard of him. I can't. Yeah.
So his concept is, I'm going to slaughter this. I know it's like an 80-20 rule, I think is what it is, or 90-10. Basically, you focus really hard on one social media and you put small amounts of content on all social media. So right now, TikTok is my focus. I post every day on TikTok. I post multiple pieces of content, but I also still make sure to utilize Instagram, to utilize Twitter and things like that. If you're going to stream, I think it's more important than anything else to clip all your streams down, highlight videos on YouTube. It is extremely hard to build an audience from nothing on Twitch. Their discoverability, while it has gotten better, is absolutely atrocious. It is hard to grow as a streamer with no following on Twitch unless you just happen to get like that miracle, like mythical host or raid from some large streamer and everyone just happens to love you. But that's like winning the lottery. And going from YouTube, the drop off is horrible if I try to get people on my Twitch stream. TikTok, what I do now is I'll go live on TikTok and be like, hey, I'm about to go live. I have like 35,000 followers or something on my TikTok. I'll go live. I'll try to get people over there. I get like 20 people. Like it's low conversion getting people off app. But if I were to just go live on Twitch with just the followers I have, I'd have like 3.
Yeah.
Like it's very hard. If you build that audience, you have to build it off of Twitch.
And that's kind of like what we're learning with the non-essential comedy show is, we have about 15 or so people in the room during the Zoom, but it's more, where can we put this? Can we, part of it's a little bit of laziness, but I need to put some of it up on YouTube, but we stream it to Facebook because then you get another 5 or 6 followers and hopefully they'll come to the Zoom meeting next time. And I think people just have the idea that, I'm going to put this up and boom, I'm going to get 40,000 followers or whatever.
And that does happen, but it's rare.
Oh, sure. But the thing that I really like the way that you're talking is that the videos are your inventory in your warehouse, because we find that when we started podcasting, if someone went back and downloaded all our podcasts, we get, 15 downloads extra in a day. And you'd be like, oh, cool, there's a little spike. And now someone does it, you get 200, a spike of 200. So there's just something said, about longevity and just kind of sticking with it.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is the other thing, too, is you need to know when to pivot. Like, I'll talk about that a lot. I've built a following of 30,000 or more people 3 different times. It's about knowing, ad revenue is getting cut. The type of content we were creating on our big channel was getting hit very hard with the ad rev change. So we created a second channel with me and my wife doing something similar, but a little different to a different market. And that became our breadwinner. And now TikTok. I saw a lot of people talking about not just the power of TikTok, because you couldn't make money when I joined TikTok. Yeah. I've only been on TikTok since April, and I hit 35,000. I hit 10,000 like my second month. Completely organic. I never marketed it to my YouTube channels or anything. It is completely organic growth. Started over with a new audience, different name, everything. The thing is, TikTok right now is the most powerful social media app to grow an organic audience. And I will challenge anyone who disagrees with that, because I've seen people overnight go from no followers to 100,000 followers, and it has changed their lives. It has created, I have a friend who's a musician, and it changed her Spotify downloads or streams or whatever, instantly. She went from having less than 1,000 overall to just thousands right away. It was crazy.
Why do you think TikTok has that appeal?
Discoverability. That's what it is. It's their algorithm. It's the idea of the For You page. People will just sit there and endlessly scroll the For You page and constantly get served content that, based on what they like and interact with, they're going to get more of that. So you get fast-paced connections to people that are like-minded individuals, and those people are already the people that want to follow you.
So it's less about we already covered that I'm the old guy, so Facebook is what I'm most familiar with, because they shut down. Well, they didn't shut down MySpace, but they might as well have. So on Facebook, I see basically things that people I follow. So TikTok, which I am not on. Is it just they show you content, not necessarily people that you follow?
Yeah, so there is a following page that I literally never go on. There's a 2-column system. It's the For You page, or the following page, and then the For You page. The For You page, actually, the way the algorithm worked when I joined, I feel is much different than it is now. It used to be regionality based. So it would be I would see, I live in Texas currently, I'm from Chicago, but I would see everybody with Texas check or all this different stuff that was had to do with Austin or San Antonio, because I live right in between both. Which was cool, but it wasn't necessarily stuff I was interested in, because, like I said, I'm from Chicago. Texas stuff doesn't interest me that much. Yeah. But it was just interesting, because then I had noticed people were saying they were getting noticed in public because it's a regional thing. Like you would have,
oh, I see, yeah,
and like there was this one girl who does a lot of San Antonio reviews of restaurants. So just because her videos prior to that had to do with San Antonio, when she started doing the food reviews, they immediately went out to people that were already following her from San Antonio. So it was just a really cool way that worked. It seems like it has drifted slightly away from that. I still see a little bit, but it's more like general population videos now, just like pop culture references and stuff. But it will adapt to you too.
Yeah. And so is that kind of your wheelhouse? I was watching some of your reaction videos earlier today, and I can't ever tell if it's AJ specifically, but it seems like every conversation he has with anybody is about wrestling. But I've seen that you had some wrestling content on there as well. So what is your kind of main focus?
So I've been a wrestling fan my entire life. That's just kind of like what, I've had a passion for. The YouTube stuff was just, I used to love watching reaction videos. I thought it was so cool. You could, and they kind of have a bad rap, but for me, the way I looked at it was like, man, it was like watching a video with a friend if you didn't have a friend around. Yeah. And I was like, I would have all these people that I was friends with. I play a lot of online games, and they'd be like, man, I don't have any friends. Or like, I'm all alone all the time. And I thought it was really cool that like people could watch these videos and feel like that sense of, like I said, bonding. So I was like, I want to do this. I'm going to do reaction videos. And it blew up. And like, it really grows the relationship, I think, more than a lot of other types of content creation, because people are having this shared experience with you. Instead of like, when we do our vlogs have trended. Like I've been on the news and stuff for shit we've done in vlogs. Super cool. But it's way different than somebody like sharing an individual experience. Like you're both watching this at the same time. You're both having this moment. Instead of like, hey, look at this weird stuff that I did alone by myself that you had nothing to do with. Like, I don't know.
One of the things I saw a while ago was that some of the people that watch content or listen to content the most are content creators. Do you find yourself spending a lot of time watching others' contents or listening to other podcasts and such?
For sure. I pretty much stopped watching TV when I started like becoming a YouTube creator. One was just for like what I consider market research. Like I wanted to see what everybody else is doing. The other thing I believe in is networking. Now, that is the one downside I'll say, and this could be anecdotal, this could be my personal experience on YouTube. A lot of the people that I met through YouTube, the relationships were very frail. Like I didn't have great relationships with the people that I met through YouTube. I had a lot of issues with I'm trying to put this as politically as possible, but people are kind of shitty on YouTube. Let's just put it that way. Like there's some real assholes.
People are kind of shitty in general.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, I say that to say this. The community that I've met and created on TikTok, phenomenal, with the people who follow and watch us, but also the people who create content. I met AJ through that community, and actually this is the first one of the comedy shows that I missed, was the one yesterday. I've every single one that he's ever linked to me, but yesterday I actually cracked my wisdom tooth. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do this today, but I've been in a severe amount of pain, so I'm very medicated right now, by the way. But
I'll get your email and messenger, and I'll Dropbox you the video.
Okay, cool. Because normally he's asked me to participate in it before. He offered me a 5-minute thing, and I'm like, I did improv a long time ago when I was like straight out of high school, and like, oh, fancy that. The kid from Chicago did improv. But
was it UCB?
No,
they're Chicago, right? Am I?
Yeah, no. Well, it was Second City.
Second City. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. Which I did get to perform 3 times, not in front of an audience, but I did get to perform in front of like people from Second City, on stage at Second City. But anyway, I don't even remember the initial question. Oh, the community. So I met AJ. AJ's become a quick friend, such a nice guy. Like anybody who is familiar with the comedy shows or in the scene, like they know he's such a good dude. And I could name 15 other people that none of y'all will know that are also that way. I feel like the exception to that rule is very small. There's been very few people that I'm like, okay, I can't deal with this person, I have to distance myself. On YouTube, it was the exact opposite. I made maybe 2 quality relationships out of my 4 years as a full-time YouTuber within that community. And it was night and day for me. So that's another reason I say TikTok is the best.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like a lot of communities are like that. when I had my comic book shop and I was doing the comic convention, it was almost like kind of carny folk, because you saw the same people, the same conventions, because we're all the vendors and whatever. And you became fast friends with some of them. And it's almost like as it got more popular, for whatever reason that Comic Cons became so popular, the atmosphere became like more and more toxic, and you had people who were like, "Oh, don't they know who I am?" And you're like, "You're nobody. Like literally, no one knows your name." And then just from doing the podcast and kind of like building in this other community locally here in Plymouth, it's such a night and day difference. It's so much. I enjoy it so much more.
So short story about me, Hugz trivia. I actually worked at a comic book shop. It was my very first job. The day I turned 15 and was legally able to work, I showed up at the comic shop on my birthday, and they hired me because I wanted to work there beforehand. So it was my first job I ever had. I worked at a comic book store / hobby shop. So we sold like RC cars and also comics and gaming stuff. So I used to go to like Gen Con and Wizard World and C2E2 and all that stuff.
It's a blast, but then it got to the point where I don't know, it kind of became like an us versus them with everybody. So you had the people in like Artist Alley who were, angry at the dealers, and the dealers who were angry at the celebrities, and everybody's angry at the promoter. And I'm like, how is this even beneficial to anyone?
I honestly feel like it's popularity, because when I was a kid, like being a nerd wasn't as cool as it is.
Yeah.
Oh, but like sure. When I went to Wizard World, the subset was much smaller, and we were much more connected, like as far as our values, I guess. People always complain, Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, like that is what it is. But as the whole culture grew, I guess, you had a lot of different value sets that came in. Like it wasn't people that came up in our tribe. It was people like, oh, Marvel's cool. They have movies and stuff. I like Iron Man. But like they didn't have that same connection. They didn't grow in the culture. They like adopted it.
Yeah.
And like normally it seemed like those people were the ones, at least in my circle, those people were the ones who had more issues and created more drama.
Probably, yeah. And it's like I remember when I first got started, it was probably like 94 when I first started in that industry. And if you saw a girl at a comic book convention, you were like, oh my God, look, there's a girl here. I wonder who her boyfriend is, that kind of thing. And now it's like there's thousands of them and like scantily clad. And it just kind of, it seems more attention seeking, and I'm not trying to throw shade at cosplayers, because I think they do good work. But
I have a good friend who's a full-time cosplayer.
But I mean, it's just such a different thing that I couldn't do it anymore.
There's been a shift. For sure, there's been a shift.
So when you see shifts like that, from YouTube or TikTok, how much do you kind of stick to what you want to do, and how much are you like, well, it's good business? Like where's that line?
It's a difficult question, because it's, if you ever want to be a content creator that has any sort of longevity, you have to be able to look at yourself and reflect on what your choices mean for your audience. You should always be thinking about your audience, because your audience is what gets you where you are. And then what's best for business second, because as long as you maintain that audience, you're going to have, it's going to fulfill your need, if it is already. If you have an audience of 10, that's not going to fulfill your needs. And then I look at what's best for business. So if I'm like, hey, TikTok's blowing up, this is absolutely what's best for business, but nobody from YouTube is going to come to TikTok, I have to sit here and say, okay, well then I need to dedicate a certain amount of time that I still have to stay on YouTube. Or for the most part, I post a lot to Patreon, because that's like our our top supporters. Those are the people who support us every day. So it's a tough situation, because sometimes you have to make Hail Mary throws if you think something else is going to be the next big thing. Like I said, 35,000 in 4 months is absurd. Like saying that it's organic growth, that's absurd. So I'm building this brand new audience, which actually, I mean, I would have to break down the numbers, but just selling this shirt is at least equal to the ad rev of the channel that I have a plaque for. You know what I mean? So it's like just sales of this shirt on TikTok before it was even monetizable.
Do you go to like, do they have I know they have some YouTube conference type things, but do they have like
VidCon and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I've been invited to like 3 conventions. I've been invited to 2 VidCons and what is that called? It's like Creator or something, or
I know there was one in Florida. I don't know which one it was.
I don't know. But VidCon was the only one that I ever wanted to go to, and I was actually in LA when VidCon was in Anaheim. This was like 3 years ago. And I didn't get to go. But what was awesome is one of my good friends was there. And I don't know if you're familiar with Grace Vanderwall at all. But she's like the young girl, America's Got Talent, in case anybody else doesn't know who she is. But we had done some reaction videos because we had a connection to like some guy that had worked with her or something. Mm-hmm. And he's like, hey, you should react to these videos and stuff. She's really cool. And my wife like loved her. So
I think she's a great singer.
Yeah, we dove deep into her content and like watched a ton of her performances because she's just amazing. And so she performed at VidCon that year, and she did like a whole set. Well, we got reached out to like the week before VidCon, and one of her reps was like, hey, do you mind if we use your videos? We're going to put together this package she was performing main stage, and we're going to put together this package. So they had all these reaction channels. Like they showed like this whole like thing of people marking out for her, wrestling term, being very excited for her, and like talking about her, performances and stuff. So my buddy hits me up. He's like, I thought you weren't coming to VidCon. I was like, no, I'm in LA. I'm doing this other thing. He's like, dude, you're on the main stage of VidCon right now. They're showing you on this video. Like, oh my God. He's like freaking out. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. But what's funny is like this has evolved a lot over the years, but like they cut out everything that had a logo. Like I think I was even wearing this hat. So like everything is like blurred out.
Was it just your face?
Well, it was just like the shirt's blurred, the hat's blurred. I had like a bunch of stuff behind me and they like blurred all the logos and stuff. And like, so it's me and my wife chilling there just like talking about Grace and her performances and stuff, but I just thought it was so funny. Everything was blurred. Also, side note to that, the first time I was ever on TV, I was on CNN in the Philippines.
Okay.
And I had like right here, dead center, I had a poop emoji pillow.
Yeah.
So the greatest thing of my life, other than the fact that my name on YouTube is Hug Knuckles and people have to call me Hug Knuckles in business meetings. Chef's kiss for that one. But on CNN Philippines, it's me and my wife talking about this stuff, and the whole time there's just a poop center. Like that's just, I don't know why that's so funny that was on CNN, but it just cracked me up. Like I thought it was the funniest thing ever.
How did you end up on CNN? Like was it a viral video type thing or? Yeah,
it was our first video. Well, it was our second video that broke 100,000 views, but it was like we had no followers. We had like 2,000 followers or something. And I think that video hit like 300, 400,000 views. And it was a viral commercial that our reaction to this commercial apparently like blew up, especially in the Philippines, which led to much later on us getting a trip to the Philippines, which is crazy in itself. But they wanted to use our footage from this reaction to this commercial because like the commercial was making the rounds.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, they had us and one other couple. And what's funny is that was our first like real blow up. And the couple that we were on with, like the other couple they showed, is really the only people that I've made friends with on YouTube like ever. They're the sweetest people. And out of all the people that I've met on YouTube, it's funny that the first people we blew up with were the nicest people.
Do you think it's because you were kind of both at that same point?
What do you mean as far as?
Like kind of like you blew, kind of like almost like a, for lack of a better term, a childhood friend. Like you're always close to your childhood friends because you kind of started at the same.
The thing is like we had a community. We tried to build like this group. There was like 5 or 6 different channels, so like 8 or 9 different people that we all tried to like be friendly with and stuff like that. And just over the course of time, realized that a lot of these people weren't as friendly or as helpful as they wanted to claim that they were. And this one group, this other husband and wife team, were like absolutely super nice. Like we still talk to them now, even though we don't do any kind of like the same type of content or anything anymore. We still talk to them.
What have you been watching content wise yourself?
I mean, right now, my biggest thing, I put so much into TikTok. So so the wrestling thing on TikTok is these promo battles. That's what we've really gotten into. It's like cutting a interview like you would in WWE, where you hear like Stone Cold Steve Austin like, "Oh, give me a hell yeah, I'm gonna kick your ass," stuff like that. So I stumbled onto that early, and it was nothing. And they had tried to make like these challenges to like promo against this one guy. Me and a couple of my buddies, my friend Sandy, created this league, and it's the TikTok Wrestling Federation. Okay. It's literally just a bunch of kids and grown-ass adults talking shit to each other. It's like literally, like right now I'm the TTWF one half of the tag team champions, and I'm also just recently won the TikTok Universal Championship.
So it's just promos talking trash.
Yes. Okay. But I say that to say this. It has become such a huge thing that I have now created what I call NGT, which is the next generation of talent. It is our developmental league. It's a farm team for a fake promo battle league on TikTok. But it's huge. Like today we do events every Friday. I have 69 people competing today in one day.
How do you determine who wins? Is it just judges. Like... Oh, okay. So
I treat it like a business. I run everything. I have 6 people that I put in charge to manage different aspects of the promotion. And then I set aside judges every week, and all they do, they inbox me or they post a video. I do edit. Like, it's all down to a system. I believe in creating systems for anything you do. Make your life easier.
Do you ever kind of stop and be like, I can't believe this is my job?
Yeah, all the time. It's super crazy. Like, it is very weird. Like, I've always wanted to be in entertainment. I knew that forever. I've always, I didn't know if it would be in front of or behind a camera. I used to write comedy a lot. I read a lot of movie scripts and stuff like that. But I am a depressed person. I've always suffered from, bad bouts of depression. And so I always want to do what I can to make other people happy.
Yeah.
When I'm down, I like to watch stuff that makes me smile, so let me do the same ththing. And when I see stuff like this NGT, this TikTok thing, like, I have kids out there that are telling me, like, man, I don't have any friends in school, or like, the current situation in the world has got me like really depressed all the time, and like I can't be around anybody. Like, thank you for giving me an outlet. Thank you for giving me a community. And I'm like, this is why I have no time in my day to do anything else. Like, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Like, I know as soon as this podcast is over, I will probably have more than 100 notifications on my Discord of people like blowing me up about what's happening for the event today. So
that's awesome.
We do like storylines. We do crazy stuff. We turn on each other and we backstab each other, and it's theater. It's just theater is all it is.
It's wrestling without the physical part.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to tell my son he's a huge wrestling fan.
AJ's very good at it. So the what this is the TikTok Heel Club. This is what I created, and this started it all. This is the hashtag that has 65 million. And then we made our own counterbalance to the Heel Club called the Face Club. So it's the bad guys and the good guys. And currently, I'm the creator of Heel Club, so I run Heel Club. AJ is the current leader of the Face Club.
Get out. How is he a face?
I hope to change that one day.
Okay.
But the idea is, so AJ and I are actually like the opposites to each other. We should be, he should be my arch nemesis. But it's funny because, I hang out in the comedy shows, or like we're really good friends. But as far as like the audience is concerned, we hate each other.
Well, that's wrestling.
Exactly, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm going to have to check that out. I'm going to have to sign up for TikTok, I guess.
Hey, if even just for the podcast, post like 15-second clips of just really good sound bites, and your audience will grow. I guarantee you. Give it 30 days.
Yeah.
And I guarantee your audience will grow.
Nice. It was just one of those one more things. And usually I'm pretty good at when something like that pops up that I will at least go on and create an account. I remember... I think like 4 years ago, there was this movement where people were like, fuck Facebook. And they like, I can't remember. There was another one.
There was a big one and something else. I hated Facebook anyways.
I just went and created an account because I'm like, well, just in case that blows up, I at least have the name.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the thing with TikTok is more celebrities are embracing it now. So I got in right before the big celebrity like push, and I think people need to get in now. Don't wait, because the more celebrities that come in, the more that it's going to water down the average audience size for everybody else, because they already have their established star power. So people are going to be drawn to that. But if you can create your audience before it becomes super celebrity driven, then I think that'll be, it's still great organic growth no matter what.
And then I think after that usually follows the older people. And once the older people are on there, then the younger people are like, nah, I'm going to go find something else.
Yeah. That's what it is.
So
I'm probably older than you think. How old do you think I am?
How old do I think you are?
Yeah.
I'm going to say late 20s, so 28.
I just turned 34.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I get the same thing because people always, I'll be like, oh, my son's starting college. And they'll be like, how is that possible? But yeah, I'm still significantly older than you.
I'm just saying I normally get the feel like people assume.
Well, you kind of have that like baby face kind of thing.
I do the neck beard. This is purely a TikTok thing. So people hated the neck beard, and because I'm the bad guy, I just kept it. I was like, I will never shave this neck beard ever.
So it's just to irritate people?
Yeah, I will never shave this neck beard. And my wife hated it at first. Now she's like pretty cool about it. Yeah. But people would be like, oh, you freaking neck beard. I was like, oh, you don't like this? Check.
It's so funny because I feel like being the heel would be the more fun position. I met Ted DiBiase years ago, and I was like, man, I hated you when I was a kid. He goes, good, that means I'm doing my job.
Exactly.
Do you ever have kind of that imposter syndrome? Like you said, people are calling you Hugz in business meetings, and do you ever have that moment where you're like, I'm just fucking around, like this is because like I'll give you an example. I got a text message right before this started of a local business being like, hey, are you free this second to come down and talk about designing and art in my restaurant? And I'm like, why but it's kind of this weird little niche that we've built for ourselves.
I get it. I'm making sure I got a new computer and my setup, all my cords. She loves to pull my cords. So I'm like, please don't unplug my computer. Yeah, 100%. That's actually something I do struggle with a lot, because the nature of what I do is very like ethereal. Like I'm not connected to people. I stare at a camera for 90% of my life. You know what I mean? There's no real like.
They're connecting with you, but you're not necessarily connecting with them.
Yeah, and it's not like I see that I have this audience. Like if every time I looked out, I saw 200,000 people, I'd be like, okay, these people are here for me. But like from my perspective, I perform to an audience of one camera. So it's very weird to me when I started getting noticed in public. I was like, oh shit, like these people are real people. Like these aren't just numbers on the internet. Whoa. And I definitely feel like people mark out over the plaque. And I'm like, that's cool. That's a huge achievement for me, but that is not who I am.
Right.
Like, that does not define me as a person. It was a decision that I made to create entertaining content for people that I feel like I'm now rewarded based on. But at the end of the day, like I consider myself just an entertainer. Hey, no. Sorry.
That's okay.
I consider
for our listeners, he was yelling at his cat, not me.
Yeah, sorry. Give me 1 second, actually. Hold on,
sure.
Sorry. I need to get one of those, like, I don't know what you call it, like the little cable covers.
Oh, yeah.
So that way they can't get, like, because what I see is the back of my computer, and I see, like, the cables wiggling, and I'm like, she's grabbing at that cable right now. But yeah, so as far as, like, the imposter syndrome, like, I see myself as an entertainer. Like, the whole YouTube thing, like, that could go away. TikTok could literally get banned this month.
Sure.
Like they've talked about banning it so many times. So my idea is like, no matter what happens, I'm always going to stick to the idea of I want to be an entertainer. I would probably try to pivot into local radio. I would love to do that. Anything that I can entertain with. But I definitely feel like it's weird that people know who I am or recognize me, or like I don't feel like I've done anything to deserve praise. Kind of like I just did what I set out to do. I looked at like a business and I executed a plan. And that's why I say everybody should try to do what they want to do. Put your time into it.
Do you remember the first time that you got recognized and what that was like?
Yeah, it was very weird. I got like, okay. So I'm going to tell a story to tell another story.
Okay.
I was going to Texas State at the time, and there was a dude who I didn't particularly like from my class that recognized us. He's like, "You were on my YouTube recommended. I don't know why though." And I was like, fuck you, dude. Like we had like 8. We went from I remember vividly. We went from 181 followers to 800 followers in a day, or subs, from this video we did. It was a epic rap battles of history reaction, which now I'm actually friends with one of those dudes, which is super cool.
Oh, nice.
But just that reaction to it, it was like I didn't want him to know because it was just weird. We had nothing, like no following or anything. We just had a video that had blown up. It hit like 151,000, but we had like 100 subs, so that was huge. So that was weird. But what I thought was the coolest thing ever is like we rarely had ever been recognized in public in the States. We had this whole thing where we ended up flying to Japan and going to the Philippines for the company that had that viral commercial, right? Mm-hmm. The one that we were on TV for. So as soon as we land in Japan, people recognize us. As soon as we land in the Philippines, there's people waiting at the airport with banners and like cameras and like losing their shit for us.
Shut up.
It was the Twilight Zone. This company put together a fan meetup for us, and we had 200 people waiting to like, the company paid for them to all eat with us and shit. They threw me a birthday party. They flew me out there for my birthday. But like so I went from literally never really getting recognized, never anything. Like we're just having an audience that we're growing. It's really cool. It's whatever. I think we had like 60, 70,000 at the time. We had just hit, I think 20 million views total ever on our channel. It was like a really cool time. But I didn't have that connection, right? We go, all that happens. I go to Google headquarters, the Philippines Google headquarters, and they made me a play button birthday cake. Like Jesus. These executives that are getting paid like stupid amounts of money. They're talking to me about ad rev and all this stuff. Like they're having all these conversations with me. Then we go and they had this birthday party for me at Jollibee, which is the company. It's like, I know they can't see it, but this little dude up here, that's like,
oh yeah, okay.
Company. They're a Filipino-based fast food chain. And they threw this birthday party for me. They had their mascots there, like they're the actual Jollibee, like their version of Ronald McDonald.
Yeah.
Like they're like dancing and stuff for me. Hundreds of people they invited to my birthday party that they paid to have eat there. And then we get rushed to the Philippines, has some of the largest malls in the entire world. Mm-hmm. We got taken to the 4th largest mall in the world, and they had like a 60-foot standee that went from like the first floor to the top of me and my wife. Like one of those things that just like hangs from the ceiling. Oh. And they had a meet and greet for us there, and they gave us like a shopping spree, and they just followed us around on Facebook Live and just watched us shop. And there were just fans all over this mall, like freaking out, like asking to be in our vlogs and stuff. So I go from like literally like one dude at a restaurant one time was like, "Hey, are you that guy?"
Kind of being snarky, being like,
hundreds of people,
"Oh, that's funny."
Like following me everywhere. Like there were YouTube videos people were posting of them just following us that were getting like 40,000 views. And it was just like footage of us candidly, and like I was like in a toy store. And they were like, "I saw Hug Knuckles and Hot Sam," and like all it is this girl like freaking out and just us walking around.
Oh, that's so bizarre.
Twilight Zone, dude. Twilight Zone.
Was it embarrassing? I feel like that would be embarrassing. Anytime if I walked in and saw like a 30-foot banner of myself, I'd be like, "Ooh, oh no, take that down."
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was embarrassing. It was definitely like, it was surreal. I felt like none of it existed. This goes with like that whole thing where you're talking about imposter syndrome. Like it didn't feel like any of this was real until literally these people just spawned from. I'm like, are these people paid actors? Like what the heck, you know?
Am I being punked?
Yeah, exactly. But like, what's crazy is they had security following us. They had to hire a security team to follow us because people were going nutty. And the first time I ever walked in a bathroom and had it cleared before I walked in was like the weirdest, but also coolest experience. I feel like the president, like these two like big dudes like freaking make me look small and like, but they work out though. And they like go in the bathroom and they're like, "It's all good, you can go in there." And they just like stood at the door, like posted up. And I was like, "Oh, this is weird." And I was like, "Man, I could just pee on the floor right now if I wanted to. Nobody can even come in here." And,
that's funny.
It was just, I'm telling you, dude, it was so weird. And that was the first time I ever had somebody like I said, somebody came up to me and they were like literally shivering to have been able to meet us. And that was the most humbling experience of my entire life. I was like, okay, this just changed from like me doing dumb shit on the internet and getting paid for it to like this person actually like I'm impacting this person. I'm like, holy shit. Like I need to not mess this up. You know what I mean?
Do you
like,
feel more pressure now, or do you kind of like think twice about, I'll have this stupid idea before it might have just been like, oh, I want to be funny, to be like, well, how is this going to go across? Like, do you have to think of that now?
I mean, I always have tried to look at things with a mindset of like, I don't want to hurt people. Like, especially because like I do revert to dark comedy. That's just kind of, you know, my style. But it's like, I do try to be mindful of the things I say, especially because a lot of our stuff is unedited. We post like full unedited stuff. And so I don't necessarily feel pressured because I've always been mindful of it anyway. Like I always tried to just as a personal thing, be mindful of it. But I definitely felt more like empowered, actually, I would say would be what it is to like try to impact people more, to like say, I went from just making funny, stupid content to like actually giving my opinion on things in the world, because I'm like, shit, maybe what I say affects what people think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it would be, if anything, I felt more empowered to like, be like, hey, this is what I think. This is what I think you should do, or like giving advice and stuff like that.
That's cool. One more question before we get going.
Sure.
Do you have trouble explaining what you do to older people?
What I used to say, my go-to is I don't wear pants for a living. I'd say I just be like, I just don't wear pants for a living. And because that was like my running gag in the beginning, is like, I never have to wear pants and you would never know. And I'm getting paid for it. But yeah, there's some people, like most people don't care because, so I'm from South Chicago.
So for like your parents,
well, my parents were in it. So I'm from South Chicago. I met my wife on Twitter, and she's from rural Texas. When I say rural, I mean 700 people in her town, right? Oof. So she tried moving to Chicago. It didn't work out. I moved to said small town. Very huge culture shock. They did not understand what YouTube, YouTube was. So my parents 100% down with it. Once they saw what I was doing, the idea, the like concept of it, they didn't like. Once they saw an execution, they were like, okay, like we get it. We like this. Yeah. But her family was much more of a hurdle, just technologically, on top of, you know, hey, we make videos for a living. But once they saw like, we got a free trip to to Japan and the Philippines, like, you can't really say anything about that. Like they're not getting that.
Right.
Like, they're 9 to 5. You know what I mean? They're
look at these 200 people here just for me.
Exactly. Yeah. And like that, when I say like, cause we have like our little intro, I did our little intro, and like they're doing, like hundreds of people are recreating my intro with me. Like that is the craziest thing. So once they saw that stuff, then they're like, oh, this is like a real thing, you know? That's cool. For the most part, I don't care. I just say I'm a content creator. I don't care. Like, very early on, I wanted people to, I feel like I almost did the opposite of what most social media people do. I went into it very cocky, like I'm a YouTuber, like I'm whatever. And then once I like got into it, I like, because of situations like with that person, I became a little more humbled to where I'm like, I'm just a content creator. I'm just a guy out here like chasing my dreams, and I just happen to be one of the people who gets to be successful at it. I try to give of myself whenever I can. I try to teach people how to use the tools. Like all I've done here is like preach, hey, this is how to become more successful in my opinion. Build an inventory, go to TikTok, embrace organic growth. I tell anyone who will listen, I will help you with all the tools that I have. And not a lot of people do that, but I want everybody to feel what I feel. I wake up in the morning and I feel like what I'm doing is what I love to do. And it also like helps people. So, I mean, that's,
I think that's great. And I'm lucky to have a lot of friends that are that same kind of part of moving up that ladder, is turning around and helping the guy behind you.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's awesome that you kind of have that same personality. And I will definitely be hitting you up for some tips here and there.
Available.
But where can our listeners go to check out your channels, social medias, blah, 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 blah?
Over on YouTube, I'm known as Hug Knuckles. You can find me on Hug Knuckles TV, Hugz Nsam, HUGZNSAM. There we do like TV and anime reacts. Over on TikTok, I am Heel Hugz, the bad guy, the leader of the heel club, the Titan himself.
The neck The neck beard.
The neckbeard. What did I call myself? The neckbeard nation. The neckbeard nation. But yeah, that's Heel Hugz or Hug Knuckles. Search that up. You'll find me everywhere.
Outstanding. Well, thanks for joining us, man.
Twitch.tv/Heel Hugz.
Oh, cool.
I'm trying to grow that right now.
So go over it. Well, when do you stream?
Right now I've been doing Tuesdays and Thursday nights, and I will probably add a weekend night. But twitch.tv/Heel Hugz with a Z, HEELHUGZ.
So Tuesday and Thursday nights, our listeners can check that out. And thanks, man, for taking the time. This was a lot of fun.
For sure. I had a great time. I'd love to be on again.
Oh, absolutely. And for our listeners, we'll catch you guys again next week. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. You can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or on Instagram at Inebri-art6. You can email us at Inebri-art@yahoo.com. And make sure you listen to the other podcasts on the Inebri-art Podcast Network, including Bar Talk, Old Colony Cast, Retro Redoctopus, America's Hometown Horror Podcast, and our newest one, Theme Park Legends, a podcast about working at theme parks. What else? And we'll catch you again next time.